so I took my new holster out into the field with me, and there's a couple things that I need to do to modify it. As you can see, my cylinders are all empty here on my pistol. Okay, so I thought this piece right here to protect the hammer was a good idea. It's mainly for people who wear coats and don't want the coat to catch on their hammer. That's what that's designed for. Well, I'm going to wear this outside my clothing, so that's really kind of unnecessary. And if you look here to where it's all scraped up right in the back there, that's because the rear sight is hitting it and scraping a groove into it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to cut this piece off and make a little notch down to clear the rear sights on the holster. And then the other thing that was pointed out to me, and I mentioned earlier, is I wanted to make some type of retention system. And somebody mentioned that the hammer's open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a thumb brake strap that is going to go over the top and snap in here, keeping the hammer protected to where it can't, if the trigger's pulled, the weapon can't go off until the thumb brake is removed from the weapon. So stay tuned, and the things I'm going to be using to do this are, my friend Huck said to use a Dremel with a drill bit in it, and I'm using a 1/16 drill bit to drill the holes to sew with, and I just made a test run, and this thing works a whole lot better than that spike I was using earlier, or a nail. So if you have a Dremel, a 1/16 inch drill bit, try that, or a smaller drill bit, depending on the size of your needle you're going to thread through, but 1/16 was just right to let the needle pass through easily, and then the thread to pull through after it. The other thing you're going to need to cut the leather is an X-Acto knife. Okay, you can use a box cutter or any other type of razor that you have, but I find the X-Acto knives give me the control that I need to cut the leather with the degree of precision I need to make it look good. So let me get to work, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've been working on this thumb brake for my pistol. And what I'm going to do now is I went ahead and I cut a hole through the top of the holster there, and I had to remove the stitching here. I'll have to re-stitch that back on. And what I did on the back here is I took a piece of sandpaper and I scruffed up, and then I scruffed up this part of it right there. And now that I have them both scruffed, I'm going to glue them together with the adhesive. So quick tip I learned the other day is when you got this smooth part, you have to rough it up with sandpaper to make the adhesive stick properly. Then I can sew it to it and proceed to do it to the other side. Alright, so wanted to show off my new holster setup that I made. I went ahead and installed the thumb brake on it. Let me come up here and adjust the camera angle downward. Alright, so I put the thumb brake on it right there, and got it all sewed in on the side. Unfortunately, I had to go in and take all the seams out to sew the thumb brake on and then re-sew everything. So note to self, put the thumb brake in first and then assemble the rest of the holster. So that's kind of a noob sauce thing that I did, but again, I'm always learning when I'm working with holsters. So whenever you're going to make your holster, always think about which seam goes in first, and if you sew that part up, can you sew the back piece? So you have to do it kind of in the correct order. So anyway, so think about that whenever you do it. Now the thumb brake here, it goes over the hammer, and even though my trigger's exposed, as you can see, the firearm can't go off because there's a big chunk of leather holding the hammer in. And if I need to pull it, then I simply pop the thumb brake like that and can draw the weapon. So it's not as easy to put back in because you have to put it back in, then reach down and snap it shut. But again, the purpose of this is for when I'm out hunting and it's getting the gun out and not having the gun fall out that's important to me. It's not a self-defense scenario type thing. Retention is the most important thing with this, and being able to get it in an emergency Putting it up is a secondary thing that doesn't really matter. Now I made this belt too, and if you'll notice I put holes all the way in it, and that's so I can go in and, like, I didn't make this knife holster, it came with the knife, but what I can do is I can take leather thong through the holes and I can tie the knife on right there, strap it to the belt, and I can strap the holster to the belt. That way nothing will move. Also, the other benefit to having a setup like this is this belt I made it extra large to go on over heavy winter clothing or over a coat, so that when I'm hunting I can hook it on over the coat. So that's why it has so many extra things right here, because I tried it on beforehand and made sure it fit on all my coats. Another benefit I found out was by having this belt separate from my lower belt, I can take a leak without my pants falling down. In the past, I've always hooked my holster onto my normal belt or onto my pants, and as soon as you unzip your fly, it goes whoonk all the way to your pistol wants to pull your pants down. So that's the benefit of having a separate gun belt for hunting purposes with a holster on it, and just carry a bigger gun and a bigger knife. And you know, have my concealed carry, I drop that, put this rig on when I want to go hunting. When I come back, I take the rig off along with my rifle, stow it, put my concealed carry stuff back on. So anyway, that's my new hunting holster with thumb brake, and my belt and my rig. I'll be working on making a new sheath though, although this one matches pretty closely. I'll probably make a completely matching sheath, but I need more dye and materials. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this series, and I'm planning on making another video shortly showing you all the tools you can use to make this sort of thing. But I'm going to try to figure out some of the tools you can use so you don't have to go and buy a whole bunch of leather working tools. Because a lot of the things I did with my leather working tools, I can do with other tools around my house. So stay tuned for that one.
Meep, meep.